Good afternoon and welcome to the IUPUI Center for Translating Research into Practice September Scholar of the Month session with Professor Silvia Bigatti. My name is Steve Vieweg and I'm the Associate Director of the IUPUI Center for Translating Research into Practice. It's a pleasure to welcome you here. The Center for Translating Research into Practice is the brainchild of Professor Sandra Petronio, who is now emeritus and is now under direction of Emeritus Chancellor Vance. And our mission is to identify, promote, celebrate examples of research at IUPUI that are translational, that are interdisciplinary, that either generate knowledge or take generated knowledge and apply it to solving complex problems in our community. And today we have a great example of what that looks like. A few notes before we get started. We're all familiar with Zoom, but just some reminders that you should please mute your microphone to help keep the background noise to a minimum. You're welcome to leave your camera on if you like, but certainly when we get to the conversation part, we encourage you to at least put your camera on. And then when we have the chance to unmute so that we can have a conversation. You're welcome to please put comments and questions into the chat. We'll moderate those and make sure that we get a chance to ask those questions of Professor Bigatti as we get to that point in the presentation. We are recording this presentation for future viewing, so if you don't want to be seen, then certainly you wouldn't want to turn on your camera and microphone, but you might want to share this with other people. You can check it out on our YouTube channel and just come back if you'd like to see it. Importantly, you'll receive an email from us after the event with whatever helpful information we can share, but also request to do a post-event evaluation. We have several things coming up. We want to make sure that you're fully aware of information that's happening. And so we have the Vance Fellowship coming up, the Vance Community Fellowship, and the Vance Community Scholar applications will be coming up soon. So if you're a faculty member interested in knowing more about that, check out our website. We have a couple of information sessions coming up. If you're interested in continuing education units, you can get that for attending these Scholar of the Month sessions. You can learn more about that on our website as well. You should follow us on all our social media pages. Pick the one that you like the most, or you can find out more information by certainly going to our YouTube page and seeing more about who we are. Our scholars that we feature are connected to something that's called ScholarWorks. And so we encourage you to take a look at this. And what you'll notice is that if you, Steve's going too fast here. So if you look at the page, if you go to and pick somebody, so today we might pick Silvia Bigatti, for example, and you can click on her page, it'll bring up some more information about her, a description of her work, and if you scroll down, you'll see a link to all of her translational scholarly publications. And these are hosted in something called ScholarWorks, but you can click on the simple handle for those and see more about whatever particular article is of interest to you, or you could click on the ScholarWorks link individually and always find all of the information about Silvia or any of our other scholars here at IUPUI and find out more about their work. It's just a nice, easy way for you to quickly access the publications that might be of interest to you about our scholars' works. It's a great resource that IUPUI offers, which makes this kind of information available to everybody in the community. We hope you'll take advantage of that. So coming up, we have to tell you in October, on the 22nd of October, a Friday, is our Scholar of the Month session with Professor Andrea Cohey, and we'll be talking about caring for the carers, the psychological impact of breast cancer on partners. So put that in your calendar. You can also check up all the other events on our Scholar of the Month as well. In October, we also have two signature events. On October 14th, starting at 3, we'll be doing our Vance Chancellor's Community Dialogue, where we will meet the current and our current fellow and scholar programs, but we'll also have a chance to hear from these 3 projects that you see on the screen if you want to learn more about what they're doing and be part of a conversation to help them think through questions and ideas that they're working on in their particular projects. Come to that session. We'll officially acknowledge the new programs that started July 1st. So we have our fellow program, and that's working on a summer of service. And then we have the scholar program that's looking at understanding cravings and triggers in adolescents attending a recovery high school in this COVID era. Following that, at 5 o'clock, we have our traditional annual fall showcase, where we will be acknowledging Dr. Malpome with the Vance Petronio Tripp Faculty Award. We'll hear more about his work. And then we'll hear from several other scholars at IUPUI who you see here will share in a poster sort of format in a breakout room session to learn more about their translational work. But today we are here to hear from Dr. Silvia Bigatti. She's a professor at the Fairbanks School of Public Health. And today she's going to help talk to us about community-engaged, strength-based approaches to fostering well-being in the Latinx communities. We're delighted to have her here. And I'm going to unshare my screen so that she can begin to share her screen. Reminder that we would love to have conversation with you after she finishes her setup of what this is and get into a conversation with her. So welcome, Dr. Bigatti.
Thank you so much. Let me, and there we go. How is everyone? Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for even inviting me to do this month, and Nori, of course, for coordinating all of it. I am going to present, I'm going to use as an example the work that I did that helped me become a Tripp Scholar a few years ago. And I'm going to talk about some work that my community partners and academic partners and I have been doing for quite a while, focusing on Latinx communities. Typically, my community partner, Vilna Diaz, would have her name on the front page that I just passed, because we created this knowledge together, and so we present it together. And Virna is here to present with me. Virna, hello.
Hello.
Okay, so Virna will be contributing as good community engaged work usually makes it happen. Someone else I'd like to mention that has been with us for this youth project that I'm going to talk about from the very beginning is Monica Medina from the School of Education. Monica is a model community engaged scholar. All of the work she does is strength-based, and the three of us together have been running this program since 2014. And I could not do it without either of them. So I'm happy Virna's here to talk to me, and I want to make sure Monica is recognized as well. So Virna works for the Latino Health Organization, and her job in that role is to serve families, Latinx families, Latino families. And the work that Virna and I do with these families teaches us this about these families. This is who they are. Like most families of any background, race, ethnicity, they are honest, family-oriented, which in the Latino community might be called familismo, hardworking, good parents, good partners, which is caballerismo and marianismo. They're future-oriented, willing to sacrifice for their loved ones and the things that matter to them. And they are good citizens. Because most of the families that Virna serves are families that need service. So Virna's an immigrant, I'm an immigrant, we don't need services, we have resources. A lot of the families that Virna serves don't have as many resources, so they do need services. And a lot of these families tend to be immigrants. And one thing that I don't hear said about immigrants often, definitely not in popular media or news, is how brave they are. How brave they are that they left everything behind, that they took an incredible chance that many people wouldn't take. And that many times the first generation, the parents that come here are going to sacrifice really their well-being so that their children and grandchildren have a future. Virna, what would you like to add about the families that you serve?
Thank you, Silvia, for the invitation, and it's a good opportunity that we can share the work that we do for the community. I have the opportunity to work with many families with different backgrounds and countries. And as a Latino families, they have almost the same values, and they want for the generation, the next generation, to have a better education, job, and to be successful in this country that give the opportunities to them. And also they feel proud about their culture and the custom, like you say, they have good values and they are citizens.
And in spite of what we see working with these families, and Virna works extremely close with these families, this is what a lot of people imagine if they don't work with these families and they don't know these families. These families experience discrimination and microaggressions because of how they're portrayed, even before the former president, but it got really, really bad from 2015 to 2019. We noticed the change. It hasn't gotten better because those years created an environment where people felt it was okay to discriminate and attack this specific population. And they've also, one of the major concerns has been threat of deportation among people that may be undocumented, but also among people who maybe had been here, even born here, or their parents born here. And all of these attacks that they experience that have gotten much, much worse over the last few years have led to problems with stress, anxiety, depression, and what began our work, suicidal ideation in kids. And again, this existed before, it's got exponentially worse in the last few years. So, okay, so what can we change? What can Virna and the Latino Health Organization change? What can I change from what you see there in the red boxes? Probably not much, right? We can try, and we do, but those are long-term efforts, and it's not going to be enough with our work. So what we decided to do was to focus on the well-being of these families, and this is how we define well-being, and to try to increase their well-being, increase their capacity to be well in spite of the attacks that come at them. So give them resources that help them build strengths that will sustain them when these challenges come. And the truth is, we all experience challenges, especially youth. These youth experience additional challenges because of the bicultural nature of their experience. So our definition of well-being is this PERMA. It calls to me because it comes from positive psychology. I'm a psychologist. And it really fits very well to the work that we do, because this is what we try to achieve in the programming that we do with these families: positive emotions, engagement with the community, with the world, and with each other, of course, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishments. And a model of how we apply all of these goals is the work that we've been doing with Latino youth. And I'm choosing this one again. It is the one that helped me become a TRIP scholar. It's also the one that has been in existence for the longest, since 2014. And year after year, we test this intervention, and it shows that it's successful. It increases what we want to increase. It decreases what we want to decrease. Virna, Any comments about this before I start describing it?
Well, yes. We created this summer camp from a research, as Sylvia says, a long time ago. And then, like Sylvia mentioned, we have been doing this summer camp for many years. And then in 2017, we did a project with young Latinas that were participants in the YLYS. And they asked for extra help, and they want to be in a support program where we can express ourselves. That's what they say. And then they want to learn about the health and other things. But they has a little concerns about the immigration law that the former president say, and then he was attacking them, and they were afraid to go out, afraid to drive, or the daily basis activities that they doing. And they want to achieve their goals. And then this summer camp has been successful because we go out to reach those youth. How we do it? Well, we go to so many places, churches, schools, community centers. We promote in radio, TV, magazines, social media, and former campers. And then we explain to parents why this summer camp is different and what their children are going to learn. And we put so many time to, try to help those future generation.
Thank you, Virna. So your Life, Your Story, as Virna said, is a camp, and it is for Latinx youth ages 13 to 18. We follow a storytelling framework that was developed with the help of Young Bok Hong from the Heron School of Art. The storytelling framework is basically every day we have a theme, and everything we do is related to the theme. And so day 1 is, who are you? Day 2 is, who do you want to be? Day 3 is, how will you get there? Day 4 is, what challenges will you encounter along the way? And day 5 is, how will you manage or overcome those challenges so that you can reach your goals? I call it a resilience building and identity development camp. What we found in research that we did with Virna before we started the camp was that these youth were being challenged by belonging into cultures. So parents who were very much from a different culture that they loved and they hoped that their kids would be part of, and the school and friends that wanted them to become part of this new culture. And these kids are torn in between these two worlds. And also, because of that, they need to learn to form an identity, which is a little bit more challenging than regular youth because they need to form a bicultural identity. And resilience helps them, again, overcome the challenges, including the challenges of discrimination and prejudice and attacks that they have been experiencing lately. A really important component is that they get to spend time with mentors, and these mentors are university students. I was checking to see if I had a slide on that, and I don't, so I'll tell you about them. We have had university students from across the country, typically undergraduates. We started with IUPUI. Then we wanted students from Ivy Tech because a lot of our kids are going to start in Ivy Tech. But the word got around, and we've had students from the South, Clark, Atlanta. We had someone from Elon. We've had students from Wabash and Earlham here, and Franklin even. We also we consider these near peers, so role models as to consider higher education, consider getting more training beyond high school. And we also make sure that they are diverse. There are Latino mentors, but there's also Black mentors, Muslim mentors, as much diversity as we can find, because these youth are campers, are challenged in school, oftentimes forming groups that are divided by these ethnic or racial divisions. And we kind of show them that those things kind of go away significantly after high school, and in college, they see that these youth, these college students interact and get along and have goals and are working hard towards their goals. Our mentors tell us that the best part of the program is not anything that we do, it's the time that they get to spend with mentors. So that is a very important part of the program. We have this Y-Try resilience built curriculum. It's not ours. We found it. It's really, really good. It's very experiential. And so we use it. But as Virna said, we found that the girls need a lot more. And so we have built in additional work for the girls. And then in the afternoon, they have arts-based choice activities where they explore, again, the theme of the day. And that can be storytelling, music, dance, theater, just art, creating art pieces. And of course, they have breaks. Every single person that works with them, aside from the mentors who are college students or professional staff, we have professionals who are storytellers and professionals who do yoga dance. And we think that makes a big difference. It is the costliest part of our program, but it makes a big difference. And these professionals have been with us from the start. They're totally committed to the program. Even though it's costly for us, they receive less than they normally would for their work. But again, they're committed to the program, so we get to keep them every year. YLYS and other approaches that we use, as well as others that you can find throughout the country, have certain common elements. Of course, they focus on the assets. What's the positive? What do these kids or families or individuals have that's good that we can build on? Instead of focusing on what's wrong, we focus on what's right and build on that. And the idea is if we help them build strengths, those strengths will help them overcome challenges and modify what's not right. We build resilience. Some people like grit, others think of mastery, which is basically the ability to bounce back, to take challenges. You know, these will come throughout your life if you let them take you over, bring you down. Every time life is going to be hard. So we try to help with that. Definitely build community support systems. Social support is tremendously important. As most youth, these kids have challenges in communicating with their parents. Part of our work is helping them communicate their needs and their wants effectively, and not in the way that the parents had told us years before that they were experiencing. With youth, you take a long view. So you build skills now that will help them throughout their lifetime, which of course, resilience and community support are some of those. And again, most of the programs that are focused on youth focus on identity formation, identity development. But as I said, this is also community engaged work. Before that, Virna, you want to add to this slide? I'm sure you can add to this slide.
Well, there are so many summer camps around the state, but the youth feel identified between each other because this summer camp is only for Latinos youth. And they learn so many tools or reinforce those tools that maybe they might use in the future, or maybe help their brother or their sister or a friend in their life. They don't know when they're gonna use those tools. And to have a mentor that maybe guide in the college part is a huge difference for them. Or maybe to look alike, oh, I can be, you know, like him or like her when I graduated from high school. And I think that the mentor is a key thing for our summer camp.
It is, yeah. So, you know, community engaged work is what I do. And it's what Monica does. I'm guessing that a lot of you are here because it's either what you do or what you'd like to do. So for those of you who are thinking about it, how do I do it? And you work as equal partner with your community partners. So Virna and I are equal partners. We make decisions together. We draw conclusions together. We both put in the same amount of effort. That 1 week camp is, whoa, we are exhausted at the end. And Virna says, let's do 2 weeks. And I'm like, let's not do 2 weeks every year. And when there's time to disseminate, as you can see here, we disseminate together because we both co-created this knowledge along with Monica and many times other people. And so always work as equal with a community partner because the community partner has expertise that you don't have, including really what the community's needs are. So I can look at the literature and decide that it's really important to do this or that with the Latinx community. Many times I'm wrong. I'll go to Virna, she'll go to her community, and they have a completely different idea of what their needs are. And if you want to do community engaged work, part of it is serving the community, right? Yes, we have professional responsibilities. We have to achieve certain outcomes, but we can achieve both. So listen to the community when deciding what needs to be done and understand the community experience. As I said, Virna and I are immigrants. Our experience, our life experience, our day experience is very different than that of the community that she serves and that I'd like to study and serve. So we need to understand what their experience is so that we can serve them better, treat them with respect. You really need to engage with them. You can't come in, do your work and walk away. I have served on boards. I've helped Virna in little ways and that I have nothing to do with my work. There's a lot of extra work that I do because I do community engaged work, but it's a way to be engaged with the community, to learn from them, to connect, and also to give back because they help me achieve my professional goals. You should be an ally. And there's a lot of talk now about being allies. You can't be silent in the face of what the community is experiencing. And related to that, you take an advocacy approach. So it's not just cold, basic, you know, finding out what's going on and that's it. You kind of want to work towards change. You want your work to give ideas for change. If you're interested in doing this, you might wonder whether it's valued at IUPUI, and you might have heard about the diversity, equity, and inclusion designation for promotion and tenure that was created because of IUPUI's growing interest in community engaged work. Of course, the TRIP program is all about recognizing and celebrating translational research, including the community engaged type of work that I do. Our Office of Community Engagement, I love that name. It used to be Office of External Affairs. I never understood what that was, but it was very, you know, here's the university and here's a wall and here's a community and here's us. And now the name really expresses well what this office does. We created, Monica, the Office of Community Engagement, and I, the Community University Latinx Coalition, as a way to help other researchers that are interested in reaching this community reach it. And I am a liaison for the community health partnerships of the CTSI, which is, again, all about community engagement, and they have funding. So reach out to me if you're interested in learning more. There's a lot more that shows that IUPUI, yes, values this kind of work, and yes, rewards this kind of work. Virna.
Okay. The Latino Health Organization has the opportunity to work with different projects with Dr. Bigatti. And I love work with her because she always listens to us. And then I always say we because we agree in what we want for the community and what we work with. And what we add in there is cooperation, collaboration, help each other, in partnership, with respect and empathy. Maybe these words that I may mention are the same, or maybe meanings almost the same thing, but I add all of them because sometimes we use one more than other. And all the words are, alike, but they have a meaning and a purpose for the work that we're doing for the community. Everybody, like I always say this to researchers, everybody likes good data, but it is good when we do a research and also create a solution for that problem or that matter that, where the community is gonna participate. If we're doing a research, it's good to create a program or something where we can help or solve the problem. Or that issue that maybe the community has. We always keep in touch with the community that participate on research or the programs. And the reason is when they need help, they call us and we keep connecting them with all those resources that they needed or the right resources for them. And then the work that we do together is to benefit the community, not to benefit us. Yes, we do our work, but also help the community.
Thank you, Virna. And that about does it for our presentation. We'd love to chat with you about any of this.
Well, thank you both for sharing some ideas. And Silvia, you might unshare your screen so that we could see each other and we could entertain some questions, comments from the audience. I'll start first by saying, Virna, I am so glad that we were recording this because I thought your description about the value of connecting the community with our academic resources was brilliant. And that's exactly what we would hope from our expectation in the Center for Translating Research into Practices to help make those connections. I'm glad to see that the community sees the value of using ideas to solve problems. And the community can help us in the academic world translate how to make that understandable at the community level so that we could use that information or we could generate it together to figure out how to make things better. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that perspective. So what questions or comments do folks have?
Dr. Malcolm has a question.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Nuri. I actually have a couple of questions, if I may. Thank you so much for the presentation and the commitment to improve the welfare of the Hispanic community. I think there is a real need to collect good quality data and in this fashion, obtain better information, more accurate information about the community. Now, question number one would be that in my limited understanding of the terminology, when you say that foster well-being, I will imagine that there is an implied action that is applied upon or that is co-created with the community to affect changes that hopefully will lead to a better situation. What are the objective measures that you're using to see that there is a pre-post kind of thing before you co-create or before you partner with the community? Situation was A, B, C, and D. And after the partnering, after the program, you measure the outcomes. What are the objective measures that you have used in the past?
So we consistently, every year since we started, we've measured resilience, which is a goal of the program, and we've measured depression, which is the main problem that brought Virna and myself together. And every year we've been able to find in that 1 week changes in improvements in resilience and decreases in depression. So the first year we had, when I saw that, I said, well, yeah, because, they just went through a summer camp. It's exciting. This is just a temporary thing. But we followed them. And 6 months later, we measured the same thing again. And we saw that the changes had maintained. We qualitatively assess identity development and formation through the projects that they do. As I said, in the afternoon, the morning is the Why Try and the girls program, and that is managed by mental health professionals. In the afternoon, it's arts professionals, and they collect the art pieces that the students do and the conversations that the students have about what they're doing. And a lot of it is about who am I, who do I want to be? But in addition to resilience and depression, which has consistently been measured, we've tried other things. We look at positive youth development, and there's an instrument to measure that. We've measured coping, we've measured different things over time. But yes, you're right, Gerardo. It's very important to measure whether the program works or not. And our program has, with 30 students in 1 week timeline, shown that there are changes. We, of course, also measure satisfaction with the program. And we often have kids that are allowed to come back other years. And we've had some of them become mentors in the program. You have to be a college student to be a mentor, but we have had that happen as well, which is really cool.
Thank you very much. Would you mind sharing, not now, but maybe later, put in the chat the publications where you describe resilience and depression, because that would be really important, particularly the depression aspects for teenagers that you pointed out. That's really a major issue for those second generation immigrants.
I actually have some slides with data now, if you want me to show, and you gave me an opportunity to talk about the Engage Journal, which the Office of Community Engagement puts out. And it's a very cool new online journal that, taking into account the principles of community engagement and participatory action, it publishes this type of work, but also publishes voices from the community. And we have published there. And again, I have slides with data. I kept in my presentation several slides in case I have preguntas, questions about different things. And so I have these slides if you want to see them.
Yeah.
I'll point out, Dr. Mokame, I want to point out in the chat, if people are interested, Dr. Murtada put a link to the article that's in Engage. So there's a link if folks would like to check out the information from Dr. Bigatti and Virna Diaz. Go ahead, Dr. Mopome.
Is there another paper besides that one?
No, there isn't. But we have a lot of presentations that I can send you as well.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to ask is the issue of fidelity of the intervention, because this is something that, as I said, it's pre and post, and this is the measurements. But over the years, with this kind of work, it will be crucial to assess fidelity, so that whatever is done to each cohort is quite similar or identical between cohorts. So it's not just a fluke. Have you measured the fidelity of what is done on or with the groups?
That is a really good question, because part of what you do when you're doing these programs long-term and you're doing community engagement is you do, again, evaluation. And so, yes, the program in general has maintained, and yes, Birna and I are not in the sessions working, but we do evaluate fidelity. But we have made changes, maybe slight changes, but we have made changes to the program. As I said, the first year we did Why Try, second year we did Why Try. Then the psychologist who did the first year we had girls and boys together. And then the psychologists, both of them said, the boys are all active in the Why Try, the girls are silent, we should separate them. We did. And then the psychologist who did the girls said, we really need additional work for the girls. So identical would be good for a clinical trial or anything else. If you're working with the community the way we are, and the goal is to serve the community and get better and better over time, right? Then you modify it. And so our original plan was what we thought was good, and with feedback from the kids and from the professionals, we have been making improvements over time. And we actually, this year, last year we weren't able to do it. This year we were not able to do a full program, and we did a smaller, only 12 student program. And that experience actually led us to decide that we are going to regroup, Monica, Virna, and I, and talk about the future of the program based on what our experience was this time. So it is a kind of like a living document. It's a living intervention that another thing that I find that's relevant, and I always teach about this, is kids are different. So when we started, it was pre-Trump. It was pre-Trump. Things have changed dramatically. And so we need to adapt to the life experience of 13 to 18-year-olds in 2021, 2022 now, compared to the life experience of 13 to 18-year-olds in 2014, 2012, when we did our research and then developed the program, and now. And so that's another thing that is very important. So yes, it is a living document. It does change, but yes, we do manage fidelity to the intervention.
Basically, the bottom line, and I don't want to be unpleasant, but you're hoping that fidelity will be preserved because of the general tone of the intervention of the program, but you really haven't measured it, and the changing circumstances have led to different interventions for that matter, right?
I do not have fidelity to the original program, no. And that is purposeful, and that matches well with work that is co-created and co-managed with a community group, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other comments?
This is Charles. Thank you very much, both of you and Monica and Absent, for the work on this. I'm curious, and this is probably an old chancellor's question. I'm interested in how your work, Silvia, has been received in the process of promotion and tenure that you talk about across time. One of the things that I've reflected on is that over the years, in spite of efforts, I kept hearing people saying that translational work wasn't being credited. I found that frustrating because I happen to know how many people were getting promoted in the School of Medicine on service, which was very heavily translational, and it was over half. But that I kept hearing that, and I'm curious how you felt as a member of the faculty in 2 different schools across these years about your support.
That's a good question, and I may upset some people here with my answer. I started in science, And when I came to science, I tried to engage with the community. I really couldn't do it. I was in psychology, of course. I couldn't engage with the community at that point in time. One of the reasons I co-created the Latinx Coalition was because it was so difficult for me to finally be seen by the community and be accepted and people wanting to do research with me. So I put it off and I did more traditional work pre-tenure. I don't think I would have gotten tenure in psychology if I had done this type of work. First of all, because it takes a long time to connect and get started. And secondly, because it isn't as rigorous, which Gerardo so kindly pointed out, it isn't as rigorous. It won't get published probably in top journals. There's niche journals maybe for it. It can, but you need a lot of money for that. So for a starting researcher, it may not be the way to go. I have mentored junior faculty through the Empower program for years, and I have informally mentored others, and I always said, don't do it without asking first your chair and your dean, because in some places you might not get tenure on this. And I waited until I got tenure, and then I said, no, I'm going to do it. I may never make full, but I am going to do work that I find meaningful, and that is going to be a rewarding professional experience. I actually had to move to public health to do that. I don't know if it was just my impression, but I think when I would go out into the community and say I was psychology, you know, people have all these ideas, and especially certain communities about psychologists. Are you going to analyze me or what? And if I don't say I'm a psychologist and I say I'm in public health, people, especially people like the community that we serve, understand public health. I think when I went up for professor, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself. That if I had waited for the DEI, I would have been a very good case for the DEI. I didn't. I did make professor, and I heard that at the campus level, my dossier did very, very well. But that was now. I could have gone up for professor years and years ago and probably not made it because I don't think the campus was there. You talk about the university and service, but I see myself as an engaged scholar in the sense that all I do is connected. My teaching is connected to my research, which is connected to my service. And I don't want to separate those, and I can't separate those. And I am the kind of professor that I like and that I think is good to have in addition to all the other types that exist at the university. But I'm really, really happy about the whole DEI new designation, because I think a lot of faculty, especially faculty that come from other groups that are not minority faculty, basically, and younger faculty, all are very interested in doing the engaged scholar approach. And I think that IUPUI has arrived there, and really has arrived there before many other universities have. So it's pretty cool right now to be able to mentor faculty to do this. And in fact, I see Jessica Lee, who is, boy, is she an engaged scholar, and she and I have worked together for the past year, and she is another model of a researcher that does high quality work, very closely connected to the community. She works mostly with the Burmese community, and she manages publications, she manages grants, and she is going to be very successful at IUPUI, and IUPUI is going to shine because in addition to every other type of scholar, it is valuing this type of work.
I would thank you for doing the mentoring, in part because part of the role and challenge of a campus is we're constantly bringing in new people, and to continue that kind of support, we have to make sure that other people share your view of the value of the diversity of scholars. It's that point I used to make about Paul Mullins and Sutton. We had two archaeologists, one of who dug in an island off Greece and the other who dug on the IUPUI campus.
Sue Hyatt.
No, not Sue, her husband. But it was a great example of the kind of diversity in very specialized area that you can have. And as most of you know, Paul has made an enormous contribution to our neighborhood community by that work. But the other contribution was exceedingly important as well. So thank you for doing that. And I appreciate hearing you say that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bigatti, and thank you, Virna, for sharing this very intriguing idea and for having such an engaging conversation about community engaged research and taking and generating information that can be used to actually solve problems in the community. As we close this up, I have to say one thing that I was thinking about at the beginning of your comments was, as an ally, you know, and seeing the success of this, thinking about, well, I wonder what it would take to bring this to another level. You're, as you said, you're only able to reach 30 people a year, and this last year even fewer. And if this is working well, like, what would it take? How do we help get these things out in the community? If this is one way that we could make a positive impact for young people in the Latinx community, it's just, that's my takeaway today, is what could we do? But I want to say thank you to you for helping us have a really engaging conversation, a discussion, and for being such a great example of what IUPUI is about. It's about having these connections with the community, with generating knowledge that we can use to make a difference. So we appreciate you being here today. We want to remind you that coming up next month, we have several events that the Center for Translating Research into Practice is hosting. October 14th, we have 2 events that day. Go to trip.iupui.edu to learn more. And then we'll have our dialogue at the end of the month with our Scholar of the Month. So please join us for those events as well. And we want to end our time now officially, so those that have to get off to a 1 o'clock appointment have a chance to go refresh and do what they need to do. But we will stay online. Dr. Bigatti and Virna are planning to just stay here for a moment. If you have anything you want to talk about and have a final conversation, please stay on. If not, we wish you a great day, and we'll see you next month.